Welcome back, everyone, to hour number two of Back Your Play with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, and this episode of BYP with Q is brought to you by our friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Nothing like waking up in the morning to a delicious cup of coffee to get your day started. Myself in the summer heat prefer good iced coffee or sometimes a nice cold brew. And thanks to our new coffee sponsor, Fresh Roasted Coffee, you too can enjoy the delicious assortments of flavors Fresh Roasted Coffee has to offer. Click the link in my show notes afterwards for a special offer at Fresh Roasted Coffee. You can take their coffee quiz on their site to see what blends and roasts match up with you. And when you get a chance to check out your order, enter the promo code BYP20 for 20% off your first purchase. And again, our good friends over at BYP. And with that, we also want to mention that Back Your Play is powered by Coastal Sports Network, Coastal Sports Network Bets. We welcome in our good friend, a lot of information there, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football and Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us as we continue our look around the AFC, the NFC, and tonight we take a look at, I guess you can say, somewhat of an interesting division in the NFC South that was ruled last year by Tampa Bay, and Carolina was a bottom feeder. My friend, how are you?
Doing great, Q. I'm excited to talk about this division. We're doing that stuff with Coastal Sports Network, and this is their home division. It's fun. It's
That's right.
this NFC South, and a lot of people are talking about this division is downtrodden. The Tampa's won it the last couple of years, 8 wins, 9 wins. But this division, I think, is going to be more exciting, and they have some good young players coming in from the draft.
Yeah, there's really not too much of a separation gap when you look at Atlanta, Tampa, and then New Orleans. I mean, right now, Atlanta's looking at 9.5, their win total under 9.5 at plus 115. You look at them minus 135. So they're kind of telling you, hey, we believe they're going to be the favorites to win a division, to win it at minus 115 to hit that over mark, as I alluded to, minus 135. Tampa, 8.5, New Orleans, 7.5, Carolina. They're looking for an improvement with a second-year quarterback in Young at 5.5. Right now, they have the biggest odds to win a division at plus 1,100, and rightfully so. Then you got Tampa and you got New Orleans sandwiched in there. And Tampa, I think, if anything, at plus 290, you might want to jump on that right now. But let's start with the aforementioned Atlanta Falcons. I mean, obviously, they make the move for the veteran and Cousins coming off that injury. They draft Michael Penix. We know they can run the ball a little bit. We know they've got some offensive weapons. But again, what are we banking on, right? You drafted Penix because maybe you believe that Kirk Cousins might have a year or two left and you want to groom this kid a little bit. So Atlanta sitting their win total 9.5 over under. What say you?
Yeah, that's an interesting number right there, Q, because last year 7-10, so not that far away, but they were a little disappointing down the stretch, 1-4 in their last 5 games. This is another one of those teams that we talked about earlier. Their defense allowed 373, which is 21.9 per game, but that defense was not supported by the offense.
Right.
The offense only scored about 19 points per game, so. They get rid of Arthur Smith, send him over to the Steelers, say have fun with him. And you bring in Raheem Morris, and he brings over Zach Robinson from the Rams. And they're trying to use all these weapons. Now, this young group has got me excited in terms of fantasy football, and a lot of people are talking about all the weapons they have here. Drake London, Darnell Mooney. They've done some good things with the offensive line, building around Jake Matthews. Everybody wants to see can Kyle Pitts return to his first season. That rookie year was just so
Yep.
positive. You just thought he was going to jump off the page again. He needs his opportunities. Kirk Cousins, we got to see about that Achilles injury. I think Michael Penix is probably going to play before the end of the season, Q. That's going to be one of my hot takes we can fall into the season. But I think late in the year, he may get his opportunities. Maybe injury, maybe a big performance, but Kirk Cousins got a lot of money, and he
Yes.
has to live up to it. Now, the player I'm really excited about offensively is Bijan Robinson. Obviously, last year they had him. He's a new back in the NFL. He's a guy that can run the football, he can catch it, and they're going to use him a lot more. They drafted him very high in 2023 and didn't use him enough, in my opinion. So we'll see about him. Defense anchored with Grady Jarrett. and Jesse Bates. So the defense, we'll see if they can pick it up there. But Raheem Morris, a very smart defensive mind. To get to your earlier question, I do think they can hit that number, and I'm putting them right now as the favorites in this division.
Rough start to the schedule. You mentioned Morris' familiarity with the Bucs, obviously, but they open with Pittsburgh, Philly, Kansas City, New Orleans, Tampa Bay. They stubbed their toe early, and Cousins struggles. You're right. You might see a Penix say on the road against Carolina. I get it, rookie quarterback on the road, but it is Carolina. I think they're teetering right about 9. I think they figure out a way late in the season to beat the Giants. They also have Washington on their schedule, and then they close at Carolina. That push hump might get them to their 10 wins. That goes now to Tampa Bay at 8.5. For them to win the division, they're sitting at plus 290. 8.5 is their win total, plus 125 to go over, minus 150 to go under. So again, you got to lay 150 to win back 100. So the odds makers are telling you they like Tampa Bay, sneaky good. We saw what they were able to do last year, and they thumped the Eagles in the wild card, and then they got bounced in the divisional round. But you're banking on Baker Mayfield, put together those consecutive strong seasons. We know about the weapons they have. They're trying to fix their defense a little bit. Tampa Bay, I would caution people when you're looking at Tampa Bay, because Mayfield, he's a gritty, gutty, nice little spark plug. And I'm going to caution people because of this. They open up against Washington, who we believe is going to be better. Then Detroit, Denver, okay, but then Philly and Atlanta. A 1-3 start, they're going to have to dig themselves out of that hole a little bit. They get their bye in week 11. I'm torn with Tampa Bay. This might be my look, but don't touch, because I can't fully buy into Mayfield and having that back-to-back nice run of season. So for that reason, look but don't touch. Gun to my head, back me in a corner. I say they win 8. So I look at the win total to go under.
Yeah, Q, I kind of agree with you. I think this team, 8.5, that may be tough for them to beat that number. I think they're going to be a team that's going to push Atlanta in this division. But as you were saying, it's a tough schedule. They have 4 primetime games. They faced 6 teams that made the playoffs, including the Eagles, who they beat. They played Tampa. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do here. When you look at this roster, though, Foles is on the hot seat. We know
Yep.
that. He won a division, but a lot of people are saying he's not innovative enough. Can he continue to have this team ascending? We'll see. Canales is now the head coach of Carolina, who we'll talk about in a minute. You got Liam Carter Cohen coming over, another one of those Rams guys. Casey Rogers running the defense along with Larry Foote. We'll see if they're able to maintain the excellence there. But they did bring back a lot of guys. They made sure they re-signed their guys, Q. So Mike Evans is back. Chris Godwin back. You have Tristan Wirfs on the offensive line and building around him. He has had some injury issues. They bring over Opeta from the Eagles to help that offensive line. The key is obviously, as you were saying, Baker Mayfield. Is he ready to take that step up? He's already been on 4 teams or so, but he thinks he's found a home. They gave him a contract. We'll see if he's a guy. And Rashad White is sneaky good coming out of the backfield, another one of those dual threat guys. Defensively, this is their calling card. Defensively, they only allow 19 points per game, about 9th in the NFL. And they'll see if they're able to have Joe Tryon-Shoyinka have him have another good season for them out of the pass rusher position, Vita Vea in the middle. So it's going to be interesting with this team. But I do agree with you that they probably won't hit that 8.5.
Wednesday edition of BYP with Q. Rich Quinones here. Lloyd Vance kind enough to join us. Powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Check the show notes as well for that promo code for your initial buy, 20% off. Tell me you heard it right here on BYP and use the codes. That leads us to New Orleans right now, 7.5, minus 120 for the over, under plus 105. They've got long odds to win the division at plus 350. I don't like the makeup of the team. I haven't liked the makeup of the team. I think for so many years, even with Peyton and Breeze, they benefited from playing indoors in a bad division. But be that as it may, I know times they have a change for New Orleans. You know what I think about the quarterback. I think their whole system is kind of hit or miss. And I know people are sitting there saying, hey, they're going to be improved. They're going to be improved. Yeah, I'm not buying it whatsoever. I mean, think about this. You bring in Carr, and he's checked down Charlie. Winston with the turnovers. Hill is a gadget player. I don't like New Orleans to win 7.5, nor do I think they're going to win 7. And they start off Carolina, Dallas, Philly, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. They're going to be in for a long season, especially if they can't get off to a fast start. So I'm going to actually hammer the under with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, Q, I kind of agree with you that the Saints are probably going to have a tough season. They do face 7 playoff teams, including Tampa twice. As you said, they play the Eagles. Uh, they have a tough Rams team that they're going to play in Week 13. Green Bay in Week 16. That's a Monday nighter, and then they end the season at Tampa Bay. So it's going to be a tough road for these guys, and they've been in no man's land, as you've been kind of alluding to. Every year, last year they get to 9 wins, but it's just like, okay, did they get in, really did it get any better? They're winning these games. They're very close games, but they could go easily the other way, and I think that's what may happen this season. Their 2 biggest players that they spend the most money on, surprisingly, are Kamara and Taysom Hill. They did not spend a lot on the quarterback position. I do agree with you that Derek Carr is not the answer for them. And this is a team that may have to get worse before they get better, getting a younger quarterback in there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they build around Chris Olave. It's But this team, I think, is going to struggle this season.
Taking a look at the NFC South, this edition of Back Your Play with Q. Rich Quinones here. Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football Sports Radio 1029 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, and also part and powered by Coastal Sports Network. This section of our show, really the segment, will go under Coastal Sports Network bets, so you can catch BYP during the NFL season with Lloyd and myself. And also this episode, Back Your Play with Q, brought to you by my friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Nothing like waking up in the morning to a delicious cup of coffee to get your day started. Myself in the summer heat prefer a good iced cafe, a little cold brew. Thanks to our new coffee sponsor at Fresh Roasted Coffee. You too can enjoy a delicious assortment of flavors Fresh Roasted Coffee has to offer. Click the link in my show notes right now. Special offer, Fresh Roasted. You can take their coffee quiz on the site, see what blends and matches, wet the whistle, so to speak. And when you get to check out of your order, enter the promo code BYP20 for 20% off your first purchase. And I know a team that might not be starving for a little caffeine kick, but maybe for some wins, the Carolina Panthers. They went through it last year. Young quarterback, a lot of turnovers, some injuries on both sides of the football, wholesale changes. Their win total is 5.5. You're laying 115 to win back 100 on that one. They've got the longest odds to win the NFC South at plus 1100. I think they're going to be improved, but am I confident that this team's going to win 6 or 7? Let me see that second-year progression from Bryce Young. I'm not feeling it with this kid. We talked about it. I think he's put in a tough spot. You got to build around him, cut the turnovers, understand how to read the progressions quickly. I'll pull up their schedule while you give me your initial thoughts as we gloss over to Carolina Panthers to close it out.
Yeah, Q, this is a team that I thought would struggle all season. It was funny because I had Javon Alford on the other day on my show, and he kind of was talking up the Carolina Panthers. Now, I did agree with him that they will be improved, as you're kind of alluding to, but I don't think they'll get to 6 wins. This roster just is kind of devoid of talent. So Dan Morgan, their general manager, he's got a lot of work to do, and Dave Canales is coming over there from Tampa Bay, so he's going to try to, you know, tutor and get Bryce Young better, but he's the key guy in this equation. And then you can never not talk about the owner of the Carolina Panthers because you
Yeah,
just don't know what this guy's going to do. David Tepper, he has too
correct.
much money, and he just kind of thinks of his team as a plaything. He may make changes if this doesn't work out very quickly. So some talent on his team. I do like they bring over Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen's getting a little long in the tooth. But we'll see in terms of Mike Sanders and Chuba Hubbard if they're able to step it up. And then defensively, their best player they traded to the Giants. So,
Burns. Yep.
there's a lot of change here. Jadeveon Clowney is on. It seems like it's 15 teams, so he's going to be joining these guys. But I think they will be improved. But they're a young squad that it's going to take a couple years to rebuild this thing.
Yeah, they've got a stretch where they're going to get humbled. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, the Eagles, Dallas, Arizona, Tampa Bay, Atlanta to close it out. That's coming off the bye. And that's, to me, is just tough sledding. I believe they have one, pardon me. They actually, looks like they play the Giants in London, if I stand
Yeah,
correct,
they
at
play
9:30.
Germany week 10 against
Germany.
the Giants. So
Yeah, there you go. They
yeah,
don't have a prime time game. A lot of 1 o'clock games. So you guys out there, you might be we don't ever like to chase the losses, but just be wary. Always respect uh gamble responsible when you're looking at these teams and what we're shelling out with you with BYP. But yeah, I think they're going to have a tough road ahead. I'd like Atlanta to win the division. Tampa, New Orleans, I think will be, neck and neck, and then Carolina's going to round out. I don't see them vastly improving. And, quite frankly, if Atlanta's got to turn to Michael Penix, then you're right. Maybe a team like Tampa Bay is going to slide in there and win the division. I just don't have any confidence in New Orleans.
Yeah, Q, I would say it's going to be Atlanta, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. It'd be crazy, but they may compete with the Carolina Panthers for the Sellers division. But right now, I think that it's going to be fun to watch Atlanta and Tampa Bay to see it. It's becoming quite a rivalry. Remember at the end of last season, Tampa Bay beat them to win the division, but it's going to be pretty tight.
All right, good stuff as always from Lloyd Vance at Lloyd Vance. We'll continue to look around the NFC and the AFC later on in the week with another edition of BYP from our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. And of course, right here on Sports Radio 1029 FM, The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town, in conjunction with Coastal Sports Network. And as we always like to say, if you say it, you play it. If you stack it, you're going to back it. And that's kind of what we do with BYP. So, hey, put the money in the pocket and look at some of these futures. We'll tweet out our picks and predictions throughout the NFL season. You can catch Lloyd with great content every Monday night, 8 to 9. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on 1029 FM, The Game, and of course, Coastal Sports Network. Always appreciate a couple moments for jumping on, my friend, and we will do it again later on the week.
All right, Q, thanks for having me on.